Hey guys, D.Bowie here, and this is how SUMAIL fights with Storm. This game is a great showing of something I have been thinking for a long time. I've been spamming Storm for a good month now, and one thing that I noticed is that in this patch, even when I lost the laning phase pretty bad, I felt like there was always room for snowballing. To put it bluntly, I feel like in this patch, Storm is probably the best hero to snowball. Not in the way that it's easy to do so, but even past your optimal power spike, you can still take over a game that feels lost. Terribly, mechanically speaking, but in my opinion, past 5k, playing Storm is more about decision making than perfect play. Anyways, this game is ridiculous. SUMAIL was 1-7 for a long part of the game, so let's see how they turn this game around. SUMAIL's laning phase was a nightmare, and even though as of now, early game fights with Storm are not nearly as easy as they were before, he gets a good trade with his team. So the first thing to note here is how much he walks until zipping in the fight. Not only mana is a problem in the early game, but since the travel speed at level 1 is very bad, you can't zip from so far away expecting to be relevant, because most likely things will change until you reach where you click it. He commits to the jump after Chronosphere, so at least people are stuck there, but since Oracle false promised Ursa, he changed targets. And oh, I forgot to mention, a lot of people don't talk about how ball lining works. The formula is reasonably complicated, but what you need to know is that you spend a big percentage of your total mana every time you zip, and a smaller percentage for each 100 distance you travel. Having this in mind, let's analyze SUMAIL's first jump. You probably noticed that he doesn't use Soul Ring even though it gives him more mana, right? Well, he spends 280 mana when he jumps. Almost 1/3 of it is due to the initial jump, and the other 2/3 are from the close to 1100 range he travels. You are probably wondering, if he used Soul Ring before going, would it be better? Would he have the same mana percentage in the end? And well, the truth is that after making some calculations, the extra mana you spend for using Soul Ring is pretty much negligible. I made some very quick calculations, and the result I got is that you spend 5 extra mana to do the same thing. So why does he doesn't use the Soul Ring here? And as we'll see through this replay, he constantly doesn't pop Soul Ring in the initial jump in the early game. Well, if you read other Storm guides, you probably read someone telling you to always save some percentage of your mana to be able to leave the fight. And that's probably why he doesn't commit early to the Soul Ring. It's always good to have that extra mana. You have to remember that the fight can last longer than 10 seconds, so committing to it so early can bite you in the ass later. Anyways, since Oracle shows up, he decides to turn on him because he is a very annoying hero if left alone. As he chases Oracle, pay attention to how he commits the Remnant to get vision from Oracle, but not before using the Overload hit on him. He gets the extra kill, and when Pudge goes on him, he's forced to back. It's good to know that he thread switches to Strength and tries to right-click Pudge before dying. At least he gets the experience before dying. Another thing to pay attention to, Oracle shows up because he wanted to cast Fate's Edict on Ursa, so check how he doesn't even bother to keep zipping in. With Oracle on top of him, he can cast Remnant that deals way more damage per mana spent than if he just used one zip close to Oracle. I also want to talk about another aspect of Storm Spirit ult that most people don't know or understand. If you read Storm's ult, you may get the feeling that you spend the same amount of mana on every level to travel a certain distance. What changes is the speed at which you travel, the damage you deal, and the radius of the damage. But you have to remember of the percentage part of the skill. As your levels grow, your items and thus mana also grows, and the percentage part of the skill is the most relevant part of your mana spent. So keep that in mind, and if possible, try to equip yourself with different items in different levels and see how much mana you spend doing different things. It's very good to have a feeling of how much mana you spend and how much percentage mana you spend to do certain things. We have another very hard fight for Radiant. They are clearly very far behind in farm, and in this clip we see why committing to long jumps like this one is risky. Check how much Dire moves before SUMAIL gets there. Even though he is the top of the network for Radiant, he is still pretty underleveled, and being level 10 hurts him a lot here. And again, even when committing to this huge jump, he didn't touch his hull ring. Check how he doesn't commit right away to decay, even though he's under AA Blast and Storm has Electric Vortex. He baits decay a little bit more and uses Electric Vortex on max range. Also note that he didn't waste any overload procs. If you're playing Arcane Boot Storm, this can be pretty hard to reproduce. It's clear he won't be able to get that kill by spending all his mana, especially with Oracle having False Promise, so he backs. But anyways, they get the kill, and with Storm using the overload proc instead of jumping aggressively with almost no mana. From now on, SUMAIL dies 2 extra times, and to anyone watching this game it's pretty clear that they are going to lose, right? The main thing that made this game winnable is how SUMAIL took his time to engage with his Bloodstone. His Bloodstone got completed at 20 minutes, but he fought with it only at 23 minutes. The thing about Bloodstone is that if you can play correctly and get a few kills with it, you can grow even against dire situations. So SUMAIL split pushed during all that time, mainly because his team was never together or because he was not full mana, so trying to engage with fights when you're not at your prime, when you're so far behind, would definitely lose him the game here. So he gave up on his melee barracks and makes the dire heroes waste cooldowns and start fighting, and check how he plays his first zip. It might seem normal, but it hides important aspects of playing a good Storm Spirit. The first thing is zipping behind Oracle. He still has False Promise, so taking him down now is important. When he zips, he also right-clicks Oracle, but not only that, as soon as the first overload is procced, he uses the Remnant again to proc another charge. Now, Oracle will either have to walk towards Radiant Base, which puts him in an even worse situation, or he has to walk towards the Remnant and dies, but he is just so weak that he dies anyways. When he goes on Pudge, he zips on his back again, procs the overload before using Electric Vortex, and with this jump alone he already has 15 Bloodstone charges. Dire ends up retreating. Another cool engagement. He is split pushing since Dire is going for the last lane of barracks. Let's see how he deals with Ursa. Ursa was betting on getting a bash on him. The best way to deal with Ursa is by kiting him. He ball lightnings, hits overload, he does it again, followed by Electric Vortex, and check how he waits Electric Vortex being about to end, and Ursa starting to chase and click him to zip on his back. He does this twice actually. When you're fighting these very strong and bursty heroes, the best way to deal with them is abusing turn rate like he does here. Another cool thing to point out is how he waited the silence from Drought to be over to use his orchid. When you're able to disrupt the enemy team, forcing them to fight apart like this, you are on the right path to own with the hero. But he ends up misplaying a bit, and this shows that even when you have max ball lining, big jumps can hurt you. He felt like Pudge was going to walk forward, but not only he gets it wrong, he also misses the attack and is forced to spend Orchid on Pudge. And with his second jump he already has 0 mana. That was his demise. Not only he forced Void to use Chrono in a pure situation, but he also plays aggressively with no HP against an Oracle, feeding. Luckily for him, since he was relatively low level with a lot of Bloodstone charges, he respawns pretty fast. Note how he tried to go behind Oracle, maybe making him turn would be enough to get a kill, but he didn't have enough mana. And this is the power of Storm Spirit. By making the enemy fight without 5 heroes into his base, even when he misplays, they get a good trade. Another good important aspect to pay attention to is how actually going to base and healing and abusing the death timer is important. Since Storm is way more reliant on mana than he is on cooldowns, he can use all his mana, all his power to destroy Ursa, go back to base and have it all again. And Bloodstone goes even further, allowing him to, even when he dies, misplays, like in that fight, be alive again to at least get a couple of kills after it, since the fight was happening close to his base. When Storm is big, he can punish every position mistake the enemy team makes. When Oracle commits to dewarding, check how he goes on him. Oracle is the only hero that can purge his Vortex and Orchid. Not only the dire heroes are scattered, but he has his team with him. Pudge used hook, DK committed BKB, and X already initiated. Check how he stopped using his mana. He doesn't need to use mana to get this kill since everyone from his team is there, so he doesn't zip at all, and the mana regen really pays off here. He ends up not being able to kill DK, and a cool little thing he does here is placing a static remnant, not only to have one overload charge when someone appears, but to also have vision if DK comes from that path. He doesn't waste mana, walks towards Ursa, and since he has Aegis, using Vortex is not the right play before he dies, especially after BKB was used. Again, he focused Oracle and he is back to 19 charges by just taking fights at the right time and never overcommitting. Even with 3 big items, he still walks a lot during the fight to make the mana regen kick in and to be able to keep fighting without putting himself in a pretty bad situation because he was trying to kill everyone with his full mana. He indeed got pretty low on mana several times in this fight, but with the numbers advantage by fighting with his team and eliminating heroes early, he was able to regen during the fight since he had tons of Bloodstone charges. With a timely glyph and TP, he also saves the ranged barracks. Or not, Kappa. This fight is pretty unfortunate, but SUMAIL makes the best of it. Ancient Apparition gets hooked, and check how he plays this. He fights in a safe area, destroys the ward, and check how he's not jumping like crazy. He's alone, so he needs to save mana to be able to live if things get bad. Again, as he goes for DK, see how he keeps trying to abuse his movement to deal damage in safe positions. Killing Oracle is the best and easiest thing he can do in a fight. And when Void Chronos, it's pretty clear that they can't take everyone down. When Void dies, he does the best move possible, which is zipping and TPing at the same time. Well, this wraps up for today. If you enjoyed this video, please guys give it a thumbs up, it helps a lot. I am not drunk right now, and well, I can't overstate how this video wouldn't ever be possible without the huge help from the Pugna guys. So please check the link in the description, and if you actually want to see more of SUMAIL Storm Spirit plays, please also check the link in the description. And if you're new to my channel, please subscribe to it. I am not drunk all the time, but I post videos almost every day, so I'm pretty sure something here will spark your interest. Sometimes it can be a good idea to withdraw from skirmishes if you're struggling to get your item, but don't think you always need the item to fight. A cool thing he does here is going to the fog before TPing. Most Slarks would be pretty afraid to TP in that fight, but check how he goes from 270 HP to 630 by only hiding himself a little bit before TPing. To be honest, I'm not really sure what the thought process was here. My 2 cents is that he faked Beckett and at the same time tried to get out of vision. By doing that, he baits draw closer and gets the kill with Shadow Dance. In this footage, we see how taking your time with Slark can be a good idea. Another fight happens in the top lane, and as our team